When do you know it's time for a new 3D printer? The obvious answer is when you have the money. But really, it's when you're constantly waiting on your printer to finish before you can start the next project. And if that sounds familiar, you might be due for an upgrade. So, which 3D printer should you get? Because we all know there are so many options out there that are fast, reliable, and beginner friendly, you know, the ones that don't require a 6-week college course just to set up. And all of this came up recently because I was printing a few, over 1,000 little fidget toys for the GAETC conference coming up, and that's Georgia EdTech. They invited some local creators, including me, to set up with the vendors. Between that and printing for videos and helping out and printing for other things, well, I hit max capacity pretty fast. And of course, I had a side project waiting, and it's this awesome drop of articulated animals from STL Flicks. Now, my wife loves showing these off to her students, and all 8 of these designs just look amazing. And that brings us to the Flashforge AD5X. And it's a new player in the 3D printing world with a lot going for it. There's speed, multicolor printing, reliability, and surprisingly, a really nice price. Huge thanks to Flashforge for sending this over for me to test out, and I'm excited to share with you what I found. Well, before I could get to that side project with all of those articulated animals, and my other printers are all running non-stop, I unboxed the AD5X and got it ready to rock. Now, my first impressions, no case. Now, that's definitely going to keep the cost down, but if you like experimenting with different filaments or you have a drafty workspace, well, you might want to check into an enclosure. I did check on their site, and to my surprise, Flashforge offers an enclosure for it for just $64. And reviews say it's pretty easy to install. And even cooler, they've made a free printable enclosure file available so you can make your own. There's 2 different ones, not my personal style, but still, I think it's awesome they did it. You can find the files on their site and also on Printables, and I'll make sure to drop those links in the description. Now, to get those animal prints going, I'm going to have to get back to setting up the AD5X. Fortunately, setup's pretty simple overall, but I did run into a few little weird hiccups here and there, especially with the spool holders. You have to double check where to place each spool because the numbers are printed inside the holder, and you know that's the side that faces the case. So note to self, counterclockwise is the way they go on, or I'm gonna risk some pretty interesting prints. After that finished, I updated the firmware and recalibrated because yes, you always do that before all of those real prints. And then finally, it was time to print Benchy. I ran the Benchy file from the touchscreen, and after about 49 minutes it was ready. And no, that's not a speedy print, but don't forget it's 4-color, and the color change filament waste was about average for an untuned multicolor setup. Colors and lines all look fairly perfect, and I really have no complaints. During calibration and while Benchy was printing, I installed the app because, of course, there's an app, and it wasn't easy to find, but eventually I did track it down on the main Flashforge site. I'll put the link in the description for you to save you all that trouble. Next came the slicer, and here's where things kind of went a little sideways. You have to use Flashforge's version of Orca Slicer, and it's old, version 1.4.2. My current Orca Slicer is 2.3.1, but when I tried updating the Flashforge version, it said it was already current. Now, I really don't have any idea about this, why, but I didn't get an answer from Flashforge either. It could be that it's tied somehow to the printer's firmware since there's Wi-Fi binding involved. Not really sure though, but hopefully that'll get fixed soon because those older slicer versions will throw random setting errors with the current models that are found online, and I ran into that with nearly every one. So far though, everything has printed fine. Well, once I got everything rolling good, printing those flexible STL Flix animals was super easy. I just loaded them up, ignored a few slicer warnings, and printed. The Flashforge IFS color separation system that's built right into that Orca slicer, well, that makes it really intuitive to assign colors to the right spools so you don't end up with some weirdly colored prints. And it's actually pretty clever and works well once you get used to it. Since this version doesn't come with a built-in camera or a case, I set up an external camera for time lapses, and it's not perfect, but good enough to kind of show the process. The animals came out great, and I just know the kids are going to love them. I did some comparison print times with a few other 4-color printers, and they were right in line with the AD5X. Now, if I do have one real complaint, it's that the warm-up process is a little old school. The AD5X heats the bed first and then the nozzle, kind of like those old school bed slingers. Now, it's not a deal breaker, just a bit slower than I've been used to. So, final thoughts on the Flashforge AD5X. It has almost everything you're gonna want in a multicolor CoreXY printer. It has fast prints, there's solid quality, the color loads in easy, and there's print recovery, and it's all at a really great price point. The downsides are going to be those slower heat up routines and the outdated Orca slicer versions. Now, both are annoying, but hopefully that's going to be fixable with updates. If you can live without a case or a built-in camera, well, then you're looking at a current price point of $399.99. And that's going to give you a fast, reliable, 4-color CoreXY printer. And that's a seriously impressive price for what it delivers. Overall, I've been really thrilled with the results. I think it's an awesome, beginner-friendly, multicolor machine that really punches above its price range. But what do you think? Have you tried the AD5X or other multicolor printers that you think this might stack up against? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on what's coming up next from the lab. Let's keep printing on all of our machines as we continue to learn, create, and amaze.